Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you to RISE World Summit 2023. Now, why good morning, good afternoon, good evening? Because we have people joining in, not only from India, from where we are broadcasting this, but from nearly 70 countries across several time zones across the world. So welcome to all of you. My name is Naresh Karmalkar. I'm a RISE World Summit Core Committee member, and it is my privilege to take you through this morning. Today, this session, which we are broadcasting from the St. Paul's Media Complex in Bandra, suburban Mumbai in India, actually signifies the start of a phenomenal 4 days of breakthrough interactions. The RISE World Summit, organized by IDOBRO, has been designed to deepen and widen the development agenda by bringing together the 4 key stakeholder groups: government, industry, non-profits, and academia, to enable cross-sectoral dialogue and capacity building for collaboration. Beyond an unconference, the RISE World Summit is unique, with no panels, no presentations, across 3 distinctive formats: forum, fest, and tours. RISE World Summit 22 saw over 4,800 participants from 61 countries, with 200 experts and 65 partners across 100 hours of programming that included roundtables, workshops, chat tables, film festivals, awards, tours, innovation showcase, resource rooms, storytelling, surveys, and contests, and more. You know, as they say, innovation really thrives in diversity. And the last 2 years of the pandemic actually saw RISE take a different shape altogether. I was quite convinced that RISE is going to stop in those 2 years, but no. We not only did we continue, but we went in a different way. We have grown tremendously. 10 years ago, what started at the Nehru Center in Mumbai with just about 200 participants and a germ of an idea in Karan Shaiva's head actually has expanded over the last 2 years, that today we're expecting more than 6,000 participants this year from more than 70 countries joining in amazing breakthrough interactions. The RISE World Summit is a one-of-a-kind convening of thought leaders, experts, and visionary partners to influence outcomes and actions for the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, for the year ahead and beyond. RISE World Summit 23 will be a hybrid distributed event with both online and offline sessions across multiple countries and regions. We'll give you more details of that in the next few minutes. Details of the current and previous RISE Summits, may I remind you, can be found on www.risesummit.in. So let me welcome you once again. And to extend a formal welcome to all delegates, I would like to invite on stage the person who started it all 10 years ago, Karan Shaiva, Chief Impact Officer, IDOBRO, and convener of RISE World Summit 2023. Please welcome her with a big round of applause. Karan.
Thank you, Naresh. And as always, a resounding start that you give us definitely paves the way. Ladies and gentlemen, if I were to ask you, what is the opposite of unhappiness? No, I'm sorry, you're wrong. It's not happiness. It is peace. Good morning and welcome to this 10th edition of the RISE World Summit, a day that we will talk about purpose, profit, and peace. Last year, at the closing plenary, I had announced that the theme for this 10th edition would be on peace and justice, SDG 16. But as you know, we don't focus on the SDGs as 17 silos, 17 goals. We look at the SDGs as this tightly bound woolen wool ball that has all the 17 integrated and tightly interwound. And that's when we researched, how does SDG 16 really matter? How does it cross-cutting issues across stakeholders, sectors, silos? We realized that it was not enough to just say that. And that's how our theme for today is purpose, profit, and peace. And the question, that what does peace mean? Because peace is always associated with either at one extreme, the esoteric meditation, or the other extreme of war. We rarely think of peace as a daily, practical element of our lives. So critical for us all to survive and thrive. Without a stable environment, who can function? Personally, in our minds, with our society, with nature, or even between natural elements. We need peace. Without that, none of us will ever survive. Last year, I also made another promise, and that was in the opening plenary, that I would answer one of two questions in this year's plenary. Well, for those who were not there last year, and I hope that's very few number, the two questions were, one, and these are questions that people often ask us, why do we do this year after year in this most innovative format, as Naresh just explained? And the second question was, why do people come here year after year for an event that barely has an agenda, that is bringing so many diverse people together to say, what's your focus? Who is your target audience? And that answer I gave last year, and I'm not going to repeat it. I hope you will go look up my plenary address from last year, but I will give a small tip. I think people come here to sharpen their saw and revive their spirits. We need that. We need that break that gives us the opportunity to know why are we doing what we do? Where are we going? How are we going to get there? But yes, the question I was to answer this time was, why do we do this? Well, it's the same reason. We too need to sharpen our saw. We too need to keep having new ideas. We too need to make sure that our spirits stay high to continue on this mission that we need a better world and a greener planet, not just for you and me, but for all. And that's what drives us every year to pause and not stop, but run even faster to make this incredible event happen. And to call it an event would be doing it injustice. I would encourage you to see what is new this year, because while old is gold, new is platinum. And we are pushing the boundaries of thought leadership to make sure that while we preserve our ethos, our culture, our formats, our distinctive approach, we still have something new to offer. And this year, I'm really pleased to share that the launch of the Rise Value Co-Creation Framework will definitely be one of those new thought leadership that I hope everyone will be able to look forward to. The second is the Teachers for Change program that we are launching based on the Nobel Prize Teachers Summit that we organized in December during the Nobel Prize week. And I think that is something we are truly proud about. And we hope that we can share it with you and it will be of value to take it further. Not to keep going on, because I could do that forever based on what we do and the passion with which the team goes. 10 years is truly something that the team is proud about, but it's also a milestone for the Rise Pico World community. I would like to just end with a very simple reminder that today is the 75th anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi's death. And his quote, "There is enough for man's need, but not enough for man's greed." Perhaps food for thought for all of us today. Thank you. And welcome once again to the Rise World Summit 2023. Thank you.
Thank you, Karon. That was truly a very, very poignant reminder. We started with Heal the World, And I think what Caron has put us across is this whole concept of the world which not only heals, but a world which thrives. And that can only be possible by cross-sectoral partnerships and dialogue. And that is, I think, RISE is uniquely poised to do that in a big way, and which it has been doing for the last 10 years. And we look forward to 4 days of intense collaboration, intense discussion, interaction, all towards creating a better, greener, healthier world for all of us. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we move to the next part of our program. As we know, especially in India, all good things start with a lighting of the lamp. And it is now time for us to also light the lamp to signify the official beginning of the RISE World Summit 2023. For this, I have the honor of calling ahead a few very distinguished people who are with us here at St. Paul's. May I call upon Carol Andrade from the RISE Infinity Foundation Board. Maybe have Father Plavendran from St. Paul's. Yeah, can we please welcome them with a round of applause? We have Mansi Gambre from Idobro. We have Rajesh Shaiva, also a board member and one of the big youth supports behind RISE. And we have Sandeep Narwani, who's a young activist who's truly making a difference to the world wherever he is. We also have Royston Braganza with us. Royston from Grameen. Can you please join us, Royston? So we'll begin with the lighting of the lamp. As the light of the lamp dispels darkness, brings enlightenment, let this 4-day summit also add increased enlightenment and the spirit of cooperation that we have been harboring over the last 10 years. And let these interactions and collaboration lead to something which the earth can truly, truly thank us for. Thank you so much to all our dignitaries out here. And I would especially like to thank everybody who's joined in from those who are here with us in St. Paul's today, early this morning on a working day, but also so many people who have joined in at all times of the day and night, wherever they are in the world. Well, we welcome you all. Now, as I said, we started RISE World Summit 10 years ago. Now, it started in a very small way in the Nehru Center in Worli in Mumbai, and we had about 200 participants. And I think every year we added something to it, tried to make it a little bigger, a little better, a little more collaborative, a little more interactive. But always, as Caron pointed out to me this morning, we have always organized it at an institution, an academic institute. So we've done it at Nehru Center, we've done it at IIT Mumbai, and we also now we're back again to St. Paul's, where we had the RISE Summit just a few years ago. And to just kind of trace this whole journey, how it's been for us right from inception till today, we've got a small video which shows us the whole journey of the RISE World Summit over the last 10 years. May we have the video, please? So that was the 10-year journey of RISE. From its inception 10 years ago till where we are sitting here today, like I said, across 70 countries. Any organization, any movement is made or broken by the values they espouse. And where RISE is concerned, we actually live by the values so much that the name itself actually highlights the values that we believe in. RISE, everybody knows what RISE stands for. At least the old timers here: responsible, inclusive, sustainable, and ecosystem friendly. And now it's time for us to unveil the RISE values.
It's my pleasure to welcome everyone as a board member to this wonderful RISE Summit on this lovely winter morning in Mumbai. It's my absolute pleasure to invite and introduce Mr. Anil Swarup to release the RISE value for us this morning. Mr. Swarup is the founder of Nexus for Good, an IAS officer. He's previously been the Secretary for School Education and Literacy. The best way to introduce Mr. Swarup is through his own quote, and I quote, "The purpose of governance is not merely to come up with great ideas and plans, but to make things happen on the ground," end quote. And this is what Mr. Swarup has aspired to do in a stellar career spanning 38 years, where he's always attempted to make things happen. Born in Allahabad, he earned his master's degree in political science from Allahabad University in 1978. He was also awarded the Chancellor's Gold Medal for the best all-round student. Before joining the IAS in 1981, he served the Indian Police Service for a year. He won the Director's Gold Medal for Best Officer Training at the Lal Bahadur Shastri National Academy of Administration amongst the officers of his batch. As a civil servant, he's had various assignments with both the state, UP, and central government. During the final years of his career, he served as Secretary to Government of India in the Ministry of Coal, where he handled the aftermath of the coal scam. Thereafter, he served as Secretary of School Education and Literacy, where he attempted to foster public-private partnerships with great success to improve quality of school education. As a strategic thinker and an innovative leader, he's won several accolades and awards, being nominated as one of the policy change agents by Economic Times during 2010, 2012, 2015, and 16. And he was also selected as one of the 35 action heroes in India Today's 35th annual edition. So we are indeed privileged to have Mr. Swarup with us today, and I invite him to release the RISE values. Over to you.
Thank you very much for those very kind words. But before I start, I feel I take great pleasure in releasing the ecosystem-friendly RISE value. Compliments to RISE for coming up with this document, and compliments for organizing this event. Let me share some of my thoughts with you regarding this event and regarding what we try to do in Nexus of Good. But before I do that, I'm so glad about the theme that has been chosen for this session here. And you've been doing that for past 10 years. It's a wonderful, wonderful effort. My personal view is that when we sit down and discuss such issues for days, I think you will be doing that 4 days. I think the focus has to be on certain practical ideas. You know, in India, there is no dearth of ideas. You go around the city, you go around anywhere, people have ideas to find solutions to every problem. But we fortunately live in a democracy, but in a democracy, there are issues, you know. It's not very easy to implement ideas, which should be implemented. You and I will agree to ideas. I think there are a lot many ideas will be discussed here. But the real problem that we face, at least in India, is not as much with ideas as making them happen on the ground. Now, to make an idea work on the ground and sustain, it is important to understand the context, the ecosystem, the environment, because we can't do much to others. You know, I have always believed, though we tend to blame others for the problems that we have, you know, there is a couplet which is attributed to Ghalib, but it is not actually Ghalib, but says it all. उम्र भर यही भूल करता रहा गालिब, धूल चेहरे पर थी आईना मलता रहा. What it really says is that we continuously blame others for what we are. And if we focus and spend that much time on what we are, what we can do as a group, as an individual, I think a lot can change. And the old man and the great man also said, be the change you wish to see in the world. So it has to begin with you. So if I have to bring about a change, if I have to make the ideas happen on the ground, we must understand the environment in which that idea has. Without understanding the context of implementing that idea, we won't be able to implement that idea. Now, what is that context? So as I said, in a democracy, for any idea to fructify and sustain over a period of time, it has to be politically acceptable, socially desirable, technologically feasible, financially viable, administratively doable, judicially tenable, emotionally relatable, and someone added the environment dimension to it, that it should be environmentally sustainable. Now, you must be wondering, if so many are the conditions for an idea to fructify and sustain on the ground, then ideas will not. No, that is not correct. The reason why I enumerate these contexts is that while attempting to implement any idea, we must keep the context in mind. We have to keep the environment in mind. Now, the next step is, what do I do to make things happen in this context? For example, when I say it has to be politically acceptable, it is incumbent on me to understand how should I package an idea so that it becomes politically acceptable. I'm saying that with personal experience, because usually most of the civil servants like me blame the politicians, not only us. I think the country blames the politicians for the mess or the part mess that we are in. But fact of the matter is, politician is what he is. You can't change the politician. But can I change myself and package it in a manner that the idea becomes acceptable to the politician? You know, it is good to discuss ideas and feel good about it. But the common man on the ground doesn't work with ideas per se. He wants things to happen on the ground. And hence, it is important to package your idea in a manner so that it becomes politically acceptable. Similarly, if we have an idea which is not socially desirable, and that perhaps does not apply to this organization and those that are sitting here, all of them are aware of what is socially desirable and would do it. But I put it as a point here because at least in the government, we sometimes come up with idea which may or may not be socially desirable. My experience tells me that such ideas are not sustainable. They won't work on the ground. Even if they work for some time, they will collapse. Then, of course, it has to be financially viable. My friends, coming up with idea without the finance to back it remains just an idea. In my part of the world, I come from UP, they say, "Jeb mein nahi patta, chal diye Kolkata." So unless you have money to back it, but mind you, if your idea is good and great, money will follow. So it is not to say money will not come, but it has to be at the back of your mind that without a revenue model, without financial backing, the chances are that idea will not sustain over a period of time. So it has to be a financially viable proposition. Then it has to be technologically feasible. You know, technology is changing. And that is why I keep saying you have to be aware of what is happening around you, because technology, to my mind, can become a huge facilitator. I mean, we talk of corruption in government. I have personally experienced that technology can be a game changer. So if we somehow manage to remove the physical interface between common man and the government through use of technology, if not eliminated, I think corruption levels will come down dramatically. And I tell you that with my personal experience. So you have to engage with the changing ecosystem. You have to engage with the environment and see what is happening. And this environment includes the changes that are coming about in the technology domain. And technology can be a game changer both in the public and private domains. Now, then, of course, is judicially tenable. I won't go into the details of it. It's a very sensitive matter. I won't pick it up here. But as a civil servant, we had to keep this in mind, that anything that you do has to be judicially tenable. Then it has to be administratively doable. What do I mean by it? You know, even if you have money, even if you have a, political acceptance and social desirability, if you don't have the human resource to make things happen on the ground, it won't happen. You may have a brilliant idea, you may have money, but if you don't have the appropriate human resource, it won't happen on the ground. And emotionally relatable. This is very, very important. Whenever we have an idea, we must understand, if I may use the term client or the consumer very correctly. It is the acceptance of an idea by the consumer, by the client, that sustains it. So again, we have to understand this environment. Now, in order to make all these things happen, I'm also a believer in public-private partnership. We in the government, so long as I was there for 38 years, we had this wrong impression that every man in the private domain is there to make money. Though there is nothing wrong in making money, but we thought they were only making money some way or the other. Similarly, many in the private sector believe that everyone in the government is corrupt. Both are equally wrong. There are good people on either side of the fence. There are people who are doing wonderful job in the private domain. There are people that are doing wonderful job in the government domain. The tragedy is that all the rascals and ruffians of the world come together, make life difficult for us, but the good people don't come together, and hence the nexus of good. That's something which I founded after my retirement, because I discovered there is so much good that is happening in the society. Can we understand that good? Can we locate that good? Can we appreciate that good? Can we replicate that good? Can we scale that good? And I'm so glad what RISE is attempting to do is precisely the objective of Nexus of Good, bringing the good people together, whether at the level of thought or whether the level of action. Though I would prefer ideation from action, because as I said, there's no dearth of ideas in this country. But if you ideate from what has already happened on the ground, which is the essence of Nexus of Good, then the chances of it being understood, the chances of being replicated and scaled are much more. Why? Because seeing is believing. If you see a good thing happening, and that's what I say, that it's nice to give gyan about what should be done, what needs to be done. But if you demonstrate and illustrate that good is being done, then the chances that it will be accepted. So the idea here is to demonstrate that good can happen because good is happening. And nothing better than giving specific examples. Those that are actually practicing good come here and tell how they are doing it. That will convince the fence-sitters or the naysayers into believing that good can happen, what is happening. I can go on talking and talking, because post-retirement I've discovered it is much easier to talk than to walk. So I do the talking and I can carry on and on, but unfortunately I had requested Karen to put my session ahead because I have to catch a flight. I'm so glad she did it. And that's another attribute of a person who's aware of the environment. Adaptability, that's what Charles Darwin said. Guys who are going to survive are not going to be the fittest ones, but the most adaptable ones to change. And I'm so glad, Karen, you acceded to my request of changing, adapting to the change around you. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure being here. I would have loved to carry on listening to all of you, but unfortunately I have to catch a flight, as I said. So thank you very much for inviting me here, and all the best for your conference. God bless you.
I'll hand it over to Carol to introduce Ms. Gillian Ng.
Thank you, Naresh. Gillian Ng is Senior Director of Corporate Governance and Sustainability at the ICLIF Executive Education Center of the Asian School of Business. She heads the team that is responsible for the running of a whole host of corporate governance programs, including the Financial Institutions Directors Education Program, the Mandatory Accreditation Program, the Money Services Business Editors Education Program, and the Sharia Leaders Education Program for the Sharia Committee members of the Islamic financial institutions. She's also the lead faculty for MDEP, and she teaches in the Pathway to a Governance Practitioner Program, namely the Risk Management Module and other custom-built programs. This is actually just a tiny part of what she is. It would take too long to enumerate the rest. So I'll give you Gillian Ng.
Thank you so much. I am pleased to release the Sustainable Rise Value. A very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Greetings from Malaysia. Let us start by talking briefly about how we can create a sustainable culture. The word sustainable can be defined as the ability to go on or to maintain something at the same level. This year is the 10th anniversary of this summit. This summit in itself has proven to be sustainable and will continue to do so because of the work required, and its continuity will go on. Achieving sustainability is, in essence, fulfilling the needs of today without compromising needs of tomorrow. When we hear the word sustainable or sustainability, our minds go immediately to think about something green, rising sea waters, increase in floods, or animal species no longer in existence. Stepping back and thinking of sustainability, I think the whole ecosystem, not just the effects, but something bigger, something much, much more that touches not just on one or two areas, but the very core essence of life. And that is where sustainability begins. I am certain that you will hear from the other esteemed speakers and distinguished panelists about the rules that are going to be put in place or the rules that are already in place for climate change, the requirements of the TCFD, the urgent need to address biodiversity issues, the sustainable development goals, and other more technical drilled down topics related to sustainability. But before we even delve into all that, let us look at the bigger picture of sustainability and how to create a sustainable culture. This is very important, and it calls for us to look deeper, to seek within us as individuals and as organizations. As human beings, we have a lifespan of 60 to 100 years, and it is within this time frame that we should be striving to create something sustainable, something that is good for mankind and will be maintained forever and ever. So in short, our purpose in life is to create a sustainable culture so that we can maintain the good for mankind. The United Nations, based on their work over the years, have formulated the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. These are goals that each and every one of us could easily be involved in one way or another. Feeding the poor, providing good education to kids, maintaining good health are areas we should strive to achieve every day. More importantly, the right culture needs to be instilled in every person and every organization. Building a sustainable culture will require more than just good tools. It starts with a change in the mindset, which will then cause a change in attitudes, which then become habits, and this forms culture. So what is culture? Culture, as I like to remember it best, was defined by Rajiv Peshwaria in his book, Too Many Bosses, Too Few Leaders, as what your people do when no one is looking. Let me give you an example from my workplace a few years ago. Every day, the good morning man, or whom we call, used to come to the office to sell donuts and curry puffs. He used to leave a basket in every department and a little box to collect money. At the end of each day, he would find that there are some who would pick up donuts or curry puffs without paying any money at all, or they would pay a smaller amount. As a result of the shortage in his collections, he had to go from department to personally sell those curry puffs and donuts, just because people did not have a culture of doing what was right when nobody was watching. Let us now look at building a sustainable culture by looking at these 4 Ds. The first D stands for desire. Desire can be described as the passion within a person or an organization to do what is right or to put in needed steps to get to the destination set, which is a sustainable future. The desire results in the decision to make these changes in yourself or in your organization. That desire must be communicated clearly to every person in the organization so that the same desire grows within everyone. The second D is for discipline. Everyone needs discipline to stay on course. It is very easy to give up if you do not have discipline to carry the desire through. Discipline is the ability to keep going when things are difficult or when the odds are against you. When you want to instill change, there is definitely going to be opposition. For example, if you decide you want to manage waste in the office, there is more work that needs to be done. As a result, there is bound to be resistance, and you will need discipline to not give up. The next D stands for depth. When you have discipline, what you are striving for, you will see depth in your sustainability journey. Starting small, digging deeper will result in deeper, stronger roots. When you do more and grow deeper roots, the foundation of your work cannot be shaken. The last D stands for destiny. Destiny is the vision you set for yourself or your organization. Destiny takes you to a destination, and your destination is sustainability. When you look at these 4 Ds, you will realize that all 4 of them are interconnected. Your desire for sustainability will determine your discipline to keep going. Your discipline to keep going will determine the depth you will achieve. And the depth you will achieve will determine the destiny you will ultimately see. But if you look at it carefully, it could also be the destiny you wanted in the first place that actually created the desire that got you going. Now, let me tie this back to the theme for this year. The desire for a sustainable future stems from the very first word of our team, purpose. Purpose is defined as the reason for which something is done or created, or for which something exists. Purpose is also seen to drive the desire and the discipline and depth to achieve the destiny. Then there is profit. Profit can be the destiny, the vision, or the desire that spurs you into wanting to create a sustainable future. Every person or organization works to generate profit. So profit here is the destiny. It is through profits that organizations are sustainable and people see food and job security as a result. So when you have profit, you have a sustainable going concern. How much profit one desires to achieve will drive the organization's discipline, depth, and destiny. Profit, however, should not be at the expense of the future or people's rights. A business without a purpose or a clear destiny may bring benefits in the short term, but will not lead to a sustainable business in the long term. The actions of governments, regulators, and activists will see to that. In today's world, sustainability and profits are not conflicting ideas, but they complement one another to drive the purpose of your organization. Then finally, there is peace. Peace is not just the absence of war, but a feeling of calm all the time, knowing that everything will fall into place when you do what is right. Peace is the result you get at the end of the 4 Ds. When you have sustainability, you can experience peace. With that, I thank you, and I wish you a very exciting and interesting summit ahead.
Thank you, Gillian. Let's have a big round of applause for Gillian. And thank you so much for actually bringing out the whole value of sustainability through the 4D formula leading to sustainability: desire, discipline, depth, and destiny. Truly an amazing way of, also marrying it to the theme of this year's RISE Summit. So thank you once again, Gillian, for releasing the S value. And now from that, we move to the I value, inclusive. And we have with us none other than Carol Cohn, CEO and founder, Carol Cohn on Purpose USA, to release the I value. And to introduce her, we have our steering council member, Cheryl Kaiser. Now, ladies and gentlemen, both these ladies deserve a big round of applause because they're joining us live from the United States of America. And I believe it's midnight or a little after.
Yeah.
So it is truly called, this is commitment. Yeah, so much. And it is my pleasure and honor to introduce Cheryl briefly. Cheryl Kaiser is the executive director of the Lewis Institute and Babson Social Innovation Lab, United States. She has a long-standing reputation as a positive disruptor and lives by the mantra, find a way to say yes. She has an uncanny ability to connect people, resources, and ideas in a way that catalyzes change. Through these connections, Cheryl has co-created transformational experiences for Babson partners and communities. Most recently, Cheryl has served as the interim CEO of Babson's new Arthur M. Blank School for Entrepreneurial Leadership. A global leader in corporate social responsibility and social innovation, Cheryl is the author of Creating Social Value, a guide for leaders and change makers, and authored a chapter in the book about Babson's educational practice, Evolving Entrepreneurial Education, Innovation in the Classroom. Prior to coming to Babson, Cheryl spent 13 years as the managing director of the Boston College Center for Corporate Citizenship, a global membership organization of Fortune 1000 companies, responding to the changing role of business and society. Under her leadership, she created the largest global convening for CSR practitioners and leaders. Cheryl actively serves on boards such as the Base in Roxbury and Wild Hearts National Advisory Board. May I invite Cheryl to kindly introduce Carol Cohn.
Yes, thank you very much. And before I introduce Carol, Carolyn, I just have to tell you that everything about you is breakthrough, and congratulations on 10 years of facilitating breakthrough interactions. So, to say it is an honor to introduce my friend Carol Cohn at the opening of the RISE Summit is an understatement. Carol Cohn is a giant in the field that I have been privileged to work in for over 30 years. In fact, Carol, for many of us in the world of corporate citizenship, CSR, ESG, purpose-driven businesses, cause marketing, sustainability, you name the acronym or the term, and it traces back to Carol and her influence on the changing role of business in society. In fact, some of my closest and dearest colleagues and employees who have partnered with me over the years worked with Carol in her previous businesses, and it is so clear that Carol's leadership influenced generations of folks dedicated to purpose-driven businesses. For those of you who know of Carol's work, you know the incredible creativity, courage, and compassion that goes into every campaign. And no surprise, they tend to always win awards over and over and over again. Carol has the ability to not only create powerful campaigns, but to change lives along the way. So while it is an honor to introduce you, Carol, it is an opportunity to thank you personally for how you have taught me and allowed me to teach others. Thank you and welcome.
Oh my God. Cheryl, I have to thank you for that amazingly kind introduction. And it is an honor to be here. And Karen, congratulations on 10 years. I am just thrilled to be able to talk about inclusivity. But first, let me talk about my definition of purpose. Purpose is an organization's reason for being beyond profits that is based in humanity. And how do you bring that humanity to life? You start at the center of the organization, your people. They are your growth engine. And to help them flourish, you need to create an environment that is diverse, equitable, and inclusive. So while inclusivity is one of the values and the pillars of RISE, I'd like to expand it to DE&I, which is often a term we use in this country and abroad: diversity, equity, and inclusion. Now, let me explain what inclusion is about, because that's very special. Inclusion is about creating a culture a culture that is fair, respected, that creates belonging and is safe. And when it is safe, people then are allowed to speak up, to disagree, to debate. And what that creates for an organization, DE and inclusion, is greater problem solving, cohesion, creativity, greater innovation, of course, retaining talent, attracting talent, and lessening risk. Ultimately, DE&I, especially an inclusive environment, supports the full potential of people. And I love to bring Paul Pullman, who's my hero in the world, into the room, often with a quote. And he talks about leadership. And he says, leadership is not about giving energy. It's about unleashing energy in other people, unleashing their energy. Now, besides these wonderful outcomes, there's also data that supports this. And Deloitte, that has wonderful reports on employee engagement, DE&I, and inclusion, gives these numbers. There's 2 times greater likelihood for very authentic and engaged DE&I entities to meet or exceed financial targets, and 6 times greater propensity to be innovative. Increased financial targets and reaching them, innovation. I want more of that. So let me give you a story. Qantas Airlines in 2013, it was a horrible year. They had engine trouble. They had high fuel costs. They had union disputes. They had a loss of $2 billion that year. When their CEO, Alan Joyce, he had been creating a very powerful internal environment with extensive inclusion. So he asked his employees, he said, we cannot lose. We cannot go out of business. Please be resilient. Let's have really dynamic and tough discussions that an inclusive environment will support. And they did. They had a spectacular turnaround. 4 years later, they had a $600 million profit. They were named the world's safest airline and one of the most trusted entities in Australia. And the CEO, Alan Joyce, said the characteristics, the implementation of effective DE&I got us through the tough times. It generated better strategy, risk management, tremendous debate, and wonderful outcomes, from negative to a highly positive outcome. So now, how do we operationalize DE&I? How do we move to action? I want to give you some very specific little mini cases, but there's a framework, and the framework is workforce, workplace, and marketplace. So first, to create diversity, I want to give you 3 very innovative approaches. The first one is called open hiring. And some of you may or may not know Grayston Bakery. It's a small little business in Yonkers, New York, near Manhattan. But you may have eaten the delicious product they make, brownie bits, that are in Ben & Jerry's ice cream. Well, 40 years ago, Bernie Glassman, the founder of Grayston, he saw people in Yonkers and the Bronx, very poor people, people that had nothing, sleeping on the streets, homeless and such. And he wanted to empower them, to give them hope in their lives. And so he created this concept that I challenge you to perhaps institute in your organizations. Open hiring is really simple. No resume, no questions. I don't care about your background. Sign up on this list and show up for work, and then just work. And it was an incredible way to give people hope, to give them an inclusive community. And this has been an idea that is now spreading around the world. The Body Shop is using it. IKEA is using it. Rhino Foods is using it. It creates just one little outcome, is that it decreases hiring costs by 93%. The current CEO, Joe Kenner, has a goal, and his goal is by 2030 to hire 40,000 people that would create $3 billion of economic impact. Open hiring. Please follow up if you have interest. Second, Deloitte. Deloitte does blind recruiting. They take the names, addresses, and education off of resumes. So there's neutrality. And in that way, more women and diverse individuals are getting hired in organizations. IBM, they have an initiative called Return to Work for career lapsers. And that especially supports women who have left the working world to have a family to come back. That's diversity. That's a way to create diversity. Now, inclusion. Many of you, I hope, have employee resource groups in your organizations. Well, by amplifying them, by listening to them, you can get more commitment to the company, more belonging, more innovative ideas. Salesforce has 13 ERGs, and they're cleverly named Vet Force, Environmental Force, Latino Force, Bold Force, etc. But what they do is they truly stimulate a connection between corporation and its individuals for great innovation and creativity. Another way to create inclusion that is happening in the technology world especially is transgender healthcare policies. Google, Amazon, and others, they are listening to their transgender colleagues. They're listening to what are their healthcare needs, and then they are creating extensive and comprehensive coverage. The next area in marketplace, and I love marketplace because you take diversity plus inclusion, and what do? You get great innovative products, services, and ideas. Two ideas I really like. Trio. Trio is a razor from Gillette that is created for a caregiver to shave someone they're taking care of. Xbox, the adaptive controller, was created for people, for young people and adults. They love playing their video games, but they don't have mobility. So the adaptive controller that has won awards around the globe was created to help them really enjoy playing with games. Goldman, to create entrepreneurs in developing countries, they created an initiative called 10,000 Women. They partnered with organizations in developing world. They also took their women in Goldman and they combined them and partnered them so they could work and create incredible initiatives and businesses from scratch. TCS, our friends from Tata Consultancy Services, they have specific programs to reach millions of marginalized youth with digital skills. Again, giving them skills to advance to a career, again, creating diversity in your organization. And then supply chain. You know, many of you have diversity in your supply chain. You probably don't know that one of the earliest companies that have invested over $100 billion is General Motors. But General Motors' purpose, and this is how we connect purpose to inclusion and diversity, their purpose is moving humanity forward. So by creating this supplier diversity, they are, again, moving humanity forward beyond just creating a vehicle. So how else do you operationalize DE&I? Well, you join coalitions. In North America, there's the CEO Coalition for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. It was started about 5 years ago from a handful of companies, PwC, P&G, New York Life, and others. CEOs coming together to learn from each other about DE&I. Well, today, there are 2,400 CEOs that are part of that, and they are sharing best practices, sometimes worst practices, training, and also board engagement policies. So I am hosting a roundtable on the 1st of February, and we're going to really blow out a lot more of these ideas with 14 esteemed, very senior leaders. But in summary, I'd just like to say that inclusivity, DE&I, diversity, equity, and inclusion, is the humanization of business through workforce, workplace, marketplace, coalitions. Because in doing this and truly moving to action and trialing things, really being disruptive, and then bringing them into your organization, you can create an extraordinary outcomes. I'd like to end with a couple quotes. Mary Barra, the CEO from General Motors, she says, diversity is the engine of innovation and drives business growth. But again, this moves humanity forward, their purpose. Hubert Joly, the former CEO of Best Buy, the technology retailer in the United States, absolutely going out of business. He turned them around by creating an environment for their employees and that unleashes human magic. So please attend our roundtable. And I know that I want to give you, thank you for this talk. I really appreciate the time, and that I want to give you a profound answer to the question when you're asked by me, Cheryl, Caron, or others, what is the power of your purpose? Thank you so much, and have an amazing summit.
I think that really deserves a huge round of applause. Thank you, Carol, for truly bringing out the essence of what diversity, equity, and inclusion means in the context of the inclusive or the I value in RISE. And thank you for this amazing example across the world. It's really heartening to see what even the corporate sector and other sectors are doing to increase the scale of diversity and inclusiveness in their organizations. Thank you once again, and please put our hands together once again for Cheryl and Carol for their amazing commitment to be with.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And from the I value, we finally come to the R value, something we normally start with, but today, like I said, is a twist, and we are ending with the R value, that's the responsible value. And to actually release the R value, we have none other than Shombi Sharp, UN Resident Coordinator for India. And to introduce Mr. Shombi Sharp, we have our steering council member, Ms. Rajeshwari Chandrasekhar. And it's my privilege to actually introduce Rajeshwari ji. Rajeshwari Chandrasekhar is the Chief of Field Office at UNICEF Maharashtra, based in Mumbai. She's been the Chief of Field Office since June 2013. That means a little over 8 years. And her responsibilities include managing the Mumbai office, the UNICEF Mumbai office, overseeing the program and management functions, maintaining external relations with the government, donor community, and private sector, as well as civil society in the best interests of the children of the state. She has served earlier at UNICEF Kenya and Jakarta from January 2001 to June 2009, another 8 years. So truly an amazing experience in the field of children and children's rights. Please welcome Ms. Rajeshwari Chandrasekhar.
Thank you. And a big congratulations to IDOBRO for its decade of having such stimulating conversations. It's my honor and pleasure to introduce Shombi Sharp, who is the current UN Resident Coordinator for India. And he has been in this position since 2021 November, with over 25 years of a very illustrious career. He has largely worked within the UN system as a UN resident coordinator. Before joining the UN, he started his career in development with the CARE International that we all are aware of, but in Zimbabwe. He has also worked with the US Aid as a policy champion, and he has as well been a nominee for the UNDP Administrators Award. He holds a master's degree in economics from the University of Colorado, and he has also a postgraduate diploma in HIV/AIDS management. I welcome. We look forward to hearing Shombi release the R value. Over to you.
Good morning, everyone, and greetings from Delhi, India. Namaste. I'm delighted to address the RISE World Summit and such a diverse and talented community of thought leaders, practitioners, and development experts. I want to congratulate the organizers for bringing together representatives from across government, industry, the nonprofit sector, and academia to enable real cross-sectoral dialogue for collaboration on the SDGs, something we talk about a lot, but don't often do enough. We need more such breakthrough interactions towards collective action and impact. And the theme of the summit this year, purpose, profit, and peace, is highly relevant in today's world, where we need stakeholders beyond government and multilaterals, especially businesses, not just to contribute, but to actually drive our shared prosperity towards our 2030 collective agenda. I'm also delighted to now release the RISE value, responsible, underlining that we all, each one of us, carry responsibilities to ourselves and to each other. Colleagues, it goes without saying that our world today is in turmoil, facing multiple and mutually reinforcing crises, threatening to roll back progress on the SDGs at scale for the first time, from which no country and no community is immune. Even as we mount a fragile recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic, the war in Ukraine fuels a devastating energy, food, debt, and cost of living crisis. This comes against the backdrop of the greatest existential threat of all, the triple planetary crisis of climate, pollution, and biodiversity loss. The last 2 years witnessed annual rises in extreme poverty for the first time in decades, with up to 124 million people pushed into poverty, 60% of whom live in South Asia. And the IMF estimates that over 11% of additional GDP per year will have to be spent here in South Asia to achieve high SDG performance by 2030. It's no overstatement to say that in the less than 8 years we have left to achieve the SDGs, India is positioned to be a game changer. Upwards of half of some global SDG targets must be achieved here in India, the fastest growing major economy with the largest youth generation in history. Quite simply, the world's success will be significantly impacted by India's ability to bring innovation and resources to the SDGs. We know that traditional policy and market responses globally will not get us there, and the investment needed to close the SDG gap globally far exceeds public budgets. Private capital and businesses are together the engine to get us to 2030, so we must work together. Scaling up private finance, blended finance models, and new market-based solutions for the SDGs is a key priority during this decade of action. And it is clear to me that Indian businesses will be central to charting a sustainable course for our shared future, already having staked over $200 billion on renewable investments. And as a rising global climate champion with ambitious Panchamrit commitments and the Prime Minister's new Lifestyles for the Environment, or LIFE initiative, which the UN Secretary General helped launch in Gujarat last year, as well as international support to climate action through the International Solar Alliance, for example, and the Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure as well. India is increasingly a global leader on incentivizing investments in clean energy. India's first solar-powered village, for example, in Modhera, Gujarat, set against the ancient Sun Temple, is a poetic example of this commitment. Colleagues, India's G20 presidency, or as I like to call it, the SDG20 presidency, for which the government has placed SDG acceleration as a top priority, is an important opportunity to advance the 2030 agenda. With 4 leading developing countries at the helm of the G20 in a row now, we also have a unique opportunity to place the concerns of the developing world at the top table of the global economy. The UN is partnering with India's G20 Secretariat and partners with civil society and businesses to help identify crucial areas where this presidency can help accelerate progress on the SDGs. Digital transformations with innovative firms and digital technologies is already making the region a leader in mobile payments, fintech, and digital public goods, for example, helping accelerate improvements in governance, expanding financial inclusion, and transforming service delivery. The transition to a low-carbon economic model in India, which manages trade-offs between economic growth, SDG achievement, and leaving no one behind, is also both a challenge and a great opportunity. This is why we are supporting the just green transition, ensuring that the region's green transition is not just a green transition, but a just, fair transition too. The financing needs for this transition are vast. More private sector funding must be unlocked, and partnerships created especially in climate adaptation. The agreement on a loss and damage fund at COP27 was crucial, and the SDG Accelerator, I am convinced, brings the highest rate of return of all, is women-led development. The unfinished business of our time, as the UN Secretary General puts it. Gender equality is key to unlocking achievement on all of the SDGs and delivering dividends to the economy, to society, to women and girls, men and boys alike. This is especially true in South Asia, where the female labor participation rates still lag considerably behind the global average. To conclude, this is an exciting year ahead. The challenges are daunting, no doubt, but the forces for good are recovering as we reach the 2030 agenda midpoint. And from my view, India's ambitious and timely G20 presidency, seeking to move the needle on digital public goods, women-led development, and a just green transition and SDG financing, is coming just at the right time. I wish you all an excellent and productive day and a wonderful start to this important summit. And as we say here in Delhi, Sathe to Sambhav hai. If we are together, all is possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sharp. That is absolutely amazing. It's very, very, very pertinent, the points that he brought out in the whole context of our value, the responsible value. We've come through 2 years. The whole world has gone through a lot of churn in the last 2 years. And I think responsibility, being responsible at every level, is something which I think we need to bring to the fore. And I'm glad that we are part of the RISE World Summit, which itself is a very, very responsible initiative to bring the world together to create the change that we wish to see. So once again, let's put our hands together for Mr. Shombi Sharp and the responsible value. Okay, we got something very interesting right now. We keep talking about the youth being the future. I mean, there's no future, it's only the present, right? So it's young people who we are depending on to actually make this place, this world, a better place. And we have with us a young person by the name of Anurag Malu, and he does something very, very interesting. Anurag Malu loves to climb the world's tallest peaks and is an advocate for sustainability. His passion project is #climbing for SDGs, an initiative that aims to raise awareness about the UN Sustainable Development Goals through the medium of mountaineering. He believes that the mountaineering challenges and struggles can serve as a powerful metaphor for the challenges faced by humanity in achieving the SDGs. Now, I won't say anything more. Let's hear from Anurag himself. Let's have Anurag.
Yes. So those of you who have been wondering what is this climbing for SDGs, why I have started to climb these big mountains. I'm spending a good portion of my year in these vast gigantic lands that belongs to no one. For me, the climbing for SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, that are overseen by United Nations, are a benchmark for everything I'm doing in my life since last couple of years, and even a decade when they were MDGs. Whether it's my work, whether it's my personal life, what do I do to ensure I'm able to create awareness globally, drive action locally, and innovation across the borders? And my work has been pretty much all about that, championing and help the UN and the world achieve the SDGs in this decade of action that started in 2021, goes till 2030. How as an individual, how as a public sector representative, or as an institution, or as a private sector representative or an institution, or civil society, academia, or the larger representatives of everyone living on this planet, how do we ensure all of us come together in some form and start taking local action, inspire more people to act in our communities, globally or locally, depending on your own set of influence, but do something about it, make it count. We have only one planet left, and this is the time for us to take action. For me, climbing is hard. I've never done climbing and mountaineering before, and similarly, achieving SDGs is not gonna be an easy task. It's like climbing your own Everest, climbing your own mountains, of things that seems daunting, looks impossible, but we gotta do something about it. If we won't, who else will? So we better get our act together and do something that makes sure this beautiful planet that you're seeing here, these mountains that represents one of the natural landscapes that we are all privileged to have. I was privileged, to climb this beautiful and marvelous, majestic Mount Nun yesterday morning. Thank you, Mount Nun, for letting me do this. I shall climb more. We have a lot more climbs to climb, lot more mountains to climb, lot more challenges ahead. Every goal, every SDG that we have is a challenge that we all need to come together and achieve. Doesn't matter our borders, doesn't matter where you work. What matters is you get your act together and do something in your own way to make the difference, locally or globally or regionally. Join hands, challenge your politicians, get the movement started, get the communities come together, let the differences fall apart.
Wow. Wasn't that amazing? That was Anurag Malu for you, truly. And you saw all the likes and the hearts that were floating up. You can imagine, what an impactful little video that was. Yes, the youth of the world have a huge role to play in making sure the SDGs are implemented as early as can. We've been waiting long enough. We had the Millennium Development Goals. Now we have the SDGs. Let's not keep pushing the dates forward. Let's all come together and work. Now that brings us to the official end of the program today. But before that, a very quick overview of what we have in store for you for the next 4 days. Yeah. So like I said, RISE World Summit keeps growing bigger and bigger and bigger every year. So let me tell you what you have in store for you. Starting now, starting right away. In fact, our first sessions are starting within the next couple of minutes. I just would like to give you some statistics. We have 5,600 registrations till date for this summit, hailing from 70 countries. That means we got 1,000 more already than those who kind of signed up last year, and 10 countries more. We actually have, this time we have hybrid events. So after 2 years, we're having the opening, event, opening plenary in a physical format. In fact, it is an invitation for all of you to please attend the closing plenary as well, which will be at the same venue on Friday at 6:30 p.m. So we're going to have a number of such events. So we have 20 offline, we had 20 offline pre-events, 66 online and offline event sessions, and 3 online campaigns, all happening in 4 days. So it's like a lot of stuff happening over the next 4 days. You need to be a part of as many as you can. How many roundtables, workshops? Well, we have 12 plus roundtables and partner conclaves, 20 plus workshops, 30 plus physical events and meetups, and 8 virtual tours. You should check them out. Yeah. We have 150 plus experts who are going to be a part of all these sessions, 20 plus formats, and we've added a few new. For example, we have a Media for Impact booth with communications and advocacy material. We have a PSA Innovation Hub. We have entrepreneurship pitching. We have Teachers Summit, Nationwide Financial Literacy Marathon, so on and so forth. It goes on. So RISE World Summit 2023 is truly a very, very, very exciting medium. And may I tell you, more people are signing up as we speak, and more events are even now being added. So, keep looking at checking out the agenda, because you'll find something new and exciting, added in every single day. So this is an overview of what we have in store for you for the next 4 days. And before we end, and we need to actually, I'd like to thank all of you who are here today at St. Paul's. Thank you for making the time in the morning. It's a working day, and it's amazing that you could make it. Thank you for everybody who's joined us online. And we know that we'll have lots more people joining in as we go ahead. Now, to take us to the final part of this program, because first it's a technical kind of platform, right? We've seen some glitches we had with technology. So let's actually figure out how to actually negotiate this platform on which this amazing Rise World Summit is being mounted. And for that, I would like to invite our communication and technical wizard, Deepak Nanda, who's sitting in Chandigarh, actually, and, handling the back end, handling the back end throughout. And may I invite Deepak to actually come ahead and actually lead us through a walkthrough of this entire platform. So this is all from me. Thank you so much for being here, and let's have a wonderful summit. Thank you.
Hi, Naresh. Hi, everyone. Hope everyone's having a great day. And glad to see the online and offline version of the event happening simultaneously. It's exhilarating at the same point to be happening 4 days filled with as many activities as we have planned. And almost 20 offline activities have already happened. Just to quickly take everyone through a few housekeeping rules, I request everyone to keep their videos off unless they are speaking or asked to be on the panel. Second would be to use the chat option as much as possible. Like right now, we've been using the chat option to drop in profiles, drop in important information about the sessions. So just keep on interacting, engage, and put on as much information as you want. Next would be to use emojis. So like Deepali is using emojis to clap right now. So every one of you can also use emojis to react, appreciate, and also show some love to the sessions or whoever is speaking and discussing something. And again, next would be to rename yourself. So if you're joining as an expert, kindly rename yourself so we can assign you to the proper plenary and sessions that you're a part of. And if you're an attendee also, kindly fill in a detailed profile so we can map you to the networking platform with the like-minded people and from the industry that you belong to, so that the networking can happen seamlessly. Another one would be to go to agenda and check out all the sessions that are available. As of now, we have 66 sessions happening online and offline across India and across the globe. So some sessions are happening in Egypt, some in Ghana, some in UK and US as well. And again, India, obviously pan-India, we are having a financial literacy marathon happening simultaneously right now. We have some sessions happening in Bombay right now, like you can see, and in Delhi as well. So you can see the details for those as well in the agenda part of this event. Then the pavilions part of it is what you can go to check out the booths that we have created. So one would pertain to the partners that we already have. So right now we have around 100 plus partners amongst multiple countries, partners who are hosting media resources, and partners who are showcasing their entrepreneurship skills. The second one would be a booth for entrepreneurs who have joined us through our projects on entrepreneurship. And you can see their products and services listed there. Then there's an innovation hub by the Principal Scientific Advisor of India, which will be updated soon, and will host a host of cluster-based innovations from across India. Another one would be the Media for Impact tab, which hosts the communication and advocacy pieces, which you can go and explore for yourself. And lastly, again, a humble request to not spam everyone. So like I said, so all 5,600 people who are on the platform are available and open to chat, either to a text message or a video call that they were provided slots for in their profile. But kindly be cognizant of their time, their space, and do not bombard everyone with messages as much as we'd love for you to network, but just keep it to the minimum and make the most of it. And hope the 3 days and the 4th day, which is an additional one this year, is enjoyable and appreciated by all. And with that, we'd officially close the session. Thank you everyone for joining in, and hope to see you for the next 4 days.